Hi everyone, and welcome back to Teen Takeover Friday. This week's video is all about what you need to know as a D&D beginner. Um, so, just the basics. For anybody who doesn't know, D&D stands for Dungeons and Dragons, and it is a tabletop role-playing game. Um, It is based on fantasy, so obviously dragons, goblins, magic, uh, quests, very like King Arthur, Knights of the Round Table, princesses, and adventure. So that is what D&D is, and D&D is not the only kind of tabletop role-playing game that there is. There are so many different kinds, and even within Dungeons and Dragons, there are several different versions, different editions is what they call it. And so here are the basics. So number one, the most important thing that you could possibly get out of this video is that there is no wrong way to play Dungeons and Dragons. It is open. Literally, if you can imagine it, it can probably happen. So you don't have to create a story from scratch. This game can be run from what is called a pre-generated campaign. And there are lots of resources where you can find those. You can go and you can buy a source book by Wizards of the Coast, the company that owns the Dungeons and Dragons game. They have a bunch of different books that have these pre-gen campaigns. And not only are there campaigns that are strictly Dungeons and Dragons from Wizard of the Coast, but there are a bunch of different companies that put out campaigns that can be used, and they are formatted for the 5th edition, which is the most recent edition of Dungeons and Dragons. It's the most popular right now. And there are so many different places where you can get these. If you are, running this campaign on a budget, you can find lots of free campaigns, which I will post some of those, links where you can find them. And so what D&D as a tabletop role-playing game really is just telling a collaborative story. So it's going to be you and some other people, whether you're sitting at a table together, which we can't do right now because of our social distancing, or you run online. You use, there are a lot of different online resources for running a digital campaign, and I'll get to those in a bit. But all you really need to know is that you are going to use your imagination to tell a story with your friends or your family or some acquaintances, whoever is at your figurative table. So this is a lot of improvisation, very what if, very yes and I know there are a lot of people who kind of feel like, oh, I don't know about role playing, it's gonna feel weird, I might be embarrassed, I'm really self-conscious, but it's okay if it feels weird at first. It does for a lot of people, and it's just about having fun and telling this story. You don't have to be in your head about it. You need to just jump in. And I know you can kind of feel like you might want to hold back at first, and it's okay if you do, but it gets to be so much fun, and if you can really get into the story, you can kind of lose that little bit of self-consciousness and fear. I know that's the case for me when I started. So as I was talking about, there are different game systems and different editions, and they're really just there to provide different guidelines for the same core concepts. So there might be rules to the game, but like I said, there's no wrong way to play. Those rules are there as a guideline to let you know, to give you ideas, to inspire you on how to play. Has absolutely very minimal limits to these games. Um, so these different kinds of games, there's, a Star Wars one, there's um, a game called Humblewood, there's, which is all animal characters, which could be really fun. There's Gloomhaven, which now they have a sequel game that's called Frosthaven. A bunch of different role-play games that you can try out. And each of these, it's all the same core concepts. It's that collaborative storytelling, world building, just different mediums, different inspirations, different ways to have fun. So the way these games run is a game master, or specifically for Dungeons and Dragons, the dungeon master, will moderate the gameplay. So the DM or GM provides the base story and opportunities for interaction. They will help create the world that you'll be playing in, with their descriptions and the characters that they create. And the DM is really there to act as a referee for all the interactions that happen in game. The DM creates the setting, non-player characters who are there for the players to interact with as part of their adventure, different encounters and different obstacles to further the character development. And I know one of the first things that a lot of people think about when they think about D&D is dice. Dice, dice, dice. So the dice that we use in D&D it's a 7-piece base set of what they call polyhedral dice. And the dice really just act as a medium for chance to come into the game. And I will show you what the set looks like. So I have a set of dice here. So right here in my little tray, I have one of the 7-piece dice sets. And this set actually came in the D&D Essentials kit. So, kind of show you what it looks like. So we have our D4, which has 4 points, 4 sides. And so when you roll, you'll get a 1 through 4. We have our D6, which is our regular 6-sided die. You see these in Yahtzee and a lot of other games. We have a D8, which obviously is going to have 8 sides, 8 numbers. We have a D10, which 10 sides, 10 numbers. And then we also have our percentile, which goes in tens, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and then double zeros. We have a D12, has 12 sides. And then we have the big bad, the one that will make or break your game, is the D20. This is what we use to roll initiative, what we use to roll for attacks, what we use to roll for skills checks. And so that's our 7-piece polyhedral dice. They're really fun to roll. And there are lots of alternatives for those dice too. You don't have to have a physical set. There are apps that you can use, a digital dice roller. There are different kinds of dice, different shapes, different sizes. So lots of ways to accommodate if you have like dyscalculia, lots of options. So we have dice there. They create the element of chance in the game, and it randomizes, your options of passing or failing, success, um, and it's all within the mechanics of the game. It's all built in. So during an encounter, you'll use those dice to determine how it goes. Um, there are also lots of ways to kind of taste test this game if you are not sure that it's for you. You can do what's called a one-shot, which is a single session campaign, an adventure that takes, anywhere from a half hour to an hour, even longer if you want. Lots of sessions can run for several hours. It just kind of depends on what works for you. But a one shot is a single session adventure where, you can start and finish all within that single session without having to worry about it running over. And there are a lot of great resources to find a one shot that you could try out. A lot of online games right now that are looking for players. And there are also some other resources if you are interested in D&D but you're not really sure, you'd like to learn more. You can always check out YouTube. There are a lot of games that do streams with Twitch, or they'll put up recordings of their sessions on YouTube. Some that come to mind, Critical Role is a really popular one. There's Force Grey. There's a lot of stuff with Geek and Sundry. And aside from YouTube, there's also a current graphic novel right now that's out. It's called Rick and Morty versus Dungeons and Dragons. So that is combining two really popular fandoms into one. A lot of people are finding it to be really funny, really interesting. And then for the younger crowd, we have Wizards of the Coast have put out a series of choose your own adventure novels that are geared towards kind of tweens and teens, and they are called, the series is called The Endless Quest, and it's all choose your own adventure. You act as the rogue or the cleric or the barbarian or whatever class, and you will choose the options within that book and work your way through an adventure by choice. So those are really super cool, super fun for if you want to get your kids into D&D, or if you're a kid and you want to get into D&D. So that is kind of the basics. I think that's kind of it. Thanks, guys. Bye.